The Simpsons has made more correct predictions about the world than any other show. In this video, we're going to be looking at every time The Simpsons predicted the future, starting with when they predicted the existence of a three-eyed fish. In Season 2, Episode 4, Bart catches a fish with 3 eyes downstream from the Springfield nuclear power plant. But over a decade after the episode aired, an actual three-eyed fish was caught in a reservoir connected to a nuclear power plant in Argentina. But since we're on the topic of contamination, we have to talk about how The Simpsons predicted horse meat being added to beef burgers. In the 19th episode of Season 5, there's a scene where Lunch Lady Doris is shown adding assorted horse parts into the school lunch. 20 years after the episode aired, a scandal would break out in England where horse meat was actually found in burgers and other beef products. But the horse meat wasn't the only British event that The Simpsons correctly predicted, as they also displayed one of England's most famous buildings 18 years before it was constructed. In an episode called Lisa's Wedding, there's an establishing shot of London where we can briefly see a skyscraper behind Tower Bridge that looks eerily similar to the Shard. The crazy thing is that this episode came out nearly 2 decades before the Shard was built. This wasn't the only time The Simpsons made a prediction about a building, but unlike the Shard being built, this one was of a building being destroyed. In the episode The City of New York vs. Homer Simpson, Lisa holds up a brochure advertising a bus ride to New York for the price of $9. And the 9 is right next to the image of the Twin Towers, which reads 9/11. It's strange that $9 was chosen as the price point for a bus ride in 1996 when the episode aired, as $9 was significantly lower than the average price of an out-of-state bus trip. While in all honesty, this prediction may be a little far-fetched, the next prediction is shockingly accurate. In the Simpsons movie, there is a short joke where Marge makes a secretive remark to the kids, and Lisa responds with, "I don't know if you should be talking so loud." Marge then tries to reassure her that the government isn't listening to everyone's conversations. They then cut to a huge NSA office where the government is in fact listening to everyone's conversations. The Simpsons movie came out in 2008, which was 5 years before Edward Snowden made the extent that the NSA spies on American citizens public knowledge. But on the topic of the US government, we have to talk about the time when The Simpsons predicted the election of Donald Trump. In Season 11, Episode 17, Bart is granted the ability to see into the future, where Lisa happens to be president. During a meeting with her advisors in the Oval Office, Lisa talks about a budget crunch she inherited from President Trump. Everyone knows in the end of Trump's actual presidency, the world was hit with the COVID pandemic, but The Simpsons actually predicted this as well 27 years before it happened. In the episode Marge in Chains, Springfield residents are convinced by an advertisement to buy some juicers that are manufactured in Osaka, Japan. One of the factory workers is infected with a virus called the Osaka flu. The virus then finds its way into Springfield from the juicers and then rapidly spreads, mirroring the transition of COVID. The original consensus was that COVID spread to humans through a wild animal, but in the next prediction, The Simpsons foresaw the time when a man bought a wild animal believing it was a dog. In Season 13, Episode 22, the criminal character Fat Tony creates a scheme where he attempts to sell ferrets as toy poodles by gluing cotton balls to their fur. Insanely, this actually happened in Argentina years later when a man was shocked to find that the supposed poodle he bought from La Salada Market was actually a groom ferret who had been given steroids. But since we're on the topic of wild animals, we have to mention the time when The Simpsons predicted an annual holiday that revolved around killing snakes. In the famous episode Whacking Day, Springfield residents engage in an annual holiday where they drive all the snakes to the center of town and kill them. This was a hilarious made-up holiday created by the writers of The Simpsons, but it became reality in 2013 when Florida started its own annual holiday, Python Day, with the same exact concept. But Whacking Day wasn't even the last time The Simpsons made an accurate animal prediction. In Season 5, Episode 10, The Simpsons family watches a live magic show featuring 2 magicians with a white Bengal tiger. Halfway through the act, the tiger has flashbacks to when it was caught in the wild and attacks one of the magicians. Incredibly, this happened a few years later in real life when Roy Horn of the duo act Siegfried and Roy was attacked by a white Bengal tiger mid-performance. Now, there was definitely blood on the scene when Roy was attacked, but this wasn't the only bloody prediction The Simpsons would make. In the episode Itchy and Scratchy the Movie, the show would briefly feature a uniquely designed billboard with blood squirting out of it. This design would surprisingly be seen in the real world when it was used in the marketing for the first Kill Bill movie. 6 years after Kill Bill was released, release, the next Simpsons prediction would come into play when Skype made video chatting available to the general public. In the episode Lisa's Wedding, a scene that was taking place in the future would offhandedly show Lisa video chatting with her mom in what appears to be a phone attached to a monitor. This was years before the rise of personal computers and long before any normal person would have access to this technology allowing them to call their friends using video. This would change in 2010 when Skype made video chat possible for anyone that had a computer. But on the subject of technological innovation, we have to take a look at the time when The Simpsons predicted smartwatches 10 years before they were a reality. In the same episode that video chat was predicted, the writers of The Simpsons also included smartwatches in their vision of the future. Lisa's boyfriend receives a call from his watch, a concept that was totally foreign in 1994 when the episode aired. While smartwatches are a very popular accessory, The Simpsons predicted the existence of another piece of tech that didn't do so well. In season 3, episode 24, we learned that Homer's half-brother got rich from inventing a device that could translate baby talk into English. Today, baby translators are widely available, but how legitimate they are is very questionable and they aren't so popular. But since we're talking about unpopular things, The Simpsons also predicted that some people would want Michelangelo's statue of David censored. In the episode Itchy, Scratchy, and Marge creates a censorship campaign against the ultra-violent cartoon Itchy and Scratchy, though she would reconsider her campaign when the town tried to protest the nudity of Michelangelo's David, which was making a national tour. Years after the episode aired, a similar protest occurred in Russia when residents petitioned to censor a copy of the statue that was being erected in front of a church. Michelangelo wouldn't be the only artist that The Simpsons would make a prediction about, because in 2011, they predicted how Lady Gaga would perform at the Super Bowl. In the episode Lisa Goes Gaga, Lady Gaga would visit Springfield to perform a concert, and during her show, she would fly over the audience. This was eerily similar to her performance at the Super Bowl 4 years later, where she would fly over the crowd in the same way she did in The Simpsons. It could be argued that Lady Gaga is a musical genius, but she wouldn't be the only genius that The Simpsons predicted would be honored, as in the first episode of season 22, while Lisa and her friends were watching the Nobel Prize award ceremony, Milhouse would predict that Bengt R. Holmstrom would win. Although he was wrong in the episode, Holmstrom would actually take home the prize a few years later. But on the topic of awards, the Nobel Prize wouldn't be the only win that The Simpsons would predict. In the episode Boy Meets Curl, Marge and Homer would defy the odds and win the gold medal for America in the curling competition of the Olympics against Sweden. Insanely, 10 years later, the events happen in real life when America miraculously beat Sweden and won gold for curling in Pyeongchang. Speaking of winning, we can't leave out when Lisa correctly predicted the Redskins winning the Super Bowl in 1992. In The Simpsons annual football episode, Lisa would predict that the Redskins would win that year's Super Bowl. The Redskins did end up winning the 26th Super Bowl, cementing The Simpsons' incredible ability to predict the future.